Look, it's not my fault. I can compute 4 different people doing 4 different things at one time while I'm doing,
I could barely compute myself doing it. I was very good with remote minds because you'd set the mind down, then you'd go hide and giggle.
Yep.
And wait.
As a button masher, that's my best move is the remote mind and wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast coming at you from Slice on Oak Studios. I am Mayor Dave Badeaux of the city of Brainerd. With me, as always, is my brother.
That's why nobody sees my hair.
Just do that from now on. That's way better. Nobody can see it, but it's still way better.
Yeah.
Hey, Gabriel Johnson, how are you?
Dave, I am well. How are you?
I am excellent. Should we get started?
Let's do this.
Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, this, of course, is the Be Kind Rewind 1996. So, coming at the year 1996, we've got quite a few of these under our belts now. Because what did we start with? 1988? Was it? I believe it was 88. Because you were like, why are we starting with 88? So we're coming up on almost a decade of these now. As always, we start off with the soundtrack of our lives, the music of 1996. Scott, you had one that you were going to talk about super fast. You want to start there, or do you want me to go?
I can talk very briefly. I have heard and never really sat down and listened to one album by a band that I like. Weezer,
Yes.
their album Pinkerton came out
Okay.
in 1996, and I'd never really listened to it, but I had heard from a lot of people that it might be their best album. So I listened to it about 7 times yesterday, just while I was making pizzas.
Straight through?
Yep, straight through on repeat. Just start it over once it ends. And I think there is probably one good song on that album, and that's El Scorcho.
El Scorcho.
El Scorcho's a good one.
Yes, I completely agree with that statement. I was a huge Weezer fan. It was like one of my very first CDs. We talked about that. The Blue Album, start to finish, nonstop. That was the thing that I listened to all the time.
Yep.
Super excited for Pinkerton. Became very unexcited for Pinkerton. Didn't even buy it. I was so unimpressed by it that I didn't even purchase the album of my newfound favorite band.
Yeah, and you bought every album on the face of the planet when you were that age.
Mail-in catalog.
I did. We talked about this.
You didn't buy so much.
Well, so much as stole,
Swindled.
through
Yes,
means of
swindled.
putting, because initially you had to put the stamp on the Columbia House. You had to rip off the stamp. But yeah, I agree. So similar take.
Yeah, it was pretty. I was bored.
Yeah,
It was a pretty boring album.
yeah.
No real good hooks in any of the songs. Nothing that sticks in your head, except for "Goddamn those daft Japanese girls." I listened to that 1,000 times. That was great.
I do like El Scorcho. I also think that it's missing that little extra something special. I think the problem when you have a band like that was because I just went back and listened to some Weezer. I saw the first time they performed on David Letterman, and they did "Say It Ain't So" of all songs was the first song that they played on Letterman. And it was raw. I will say that it was raw. They came across as a group that has been hanging out in a garage, and
It's a good vibe.
yeah, it's a real good vibe. But then all the songs that you had were like really catchy. You know, like there was every single one has some kind of barbs in it that gets their hook into you. Pinkerton just isn't that way, and I know people love it because it's very experimental, and I know people love it. But I feel the same way about it.
Yep, I was bored.
Yeah, yeah. One of the albums that I just am noticing now super fast, Tool, Aenima.
Yes.
Yeah, 1996. That is another one that I did not get until probably a couple years later, but that was another one that I think I was probably 15 at that point. So that would have been like 97 probably is when I finally got it, 97, 98. And I was obsessed with that album.
Yeah, the postal office works slow.
Yeah. Well, can I tell you exactly how I got that album?
Yes.
Is specifically from BMG. So we've talked about this before. I had like 7 names through BMG. Half of them came to my house. Half of them came to my grandma's house. One of them was James Hetfield from Metallica. I would just make up these weird names. But they had a section that each time you signed up, you would have to pick a category of music that you were into. And then they would send you a catalog based on that category of music. Well, when you've got 7 different names, each one had a different category. So I'd get these 7 different catalogs, and they'd have a featured artist in each one. And in the one, it was Tool. And I was like, absolutely, let's go. They have a little article in there about it. Very effective. Yeah. Very effective at getting me stolen music.
I really appreciate that you used James Hetfield for one of them, because that guy fucking hates people who steal music, and you stole his identity to steal music.
This was pre-Napster. I was definitely stealing his music.
Well, that was more Lars, wasn't it?
That was definitely more Lars. Yeah. Do you got any other music, Gabe? Do you got any music?
I got a couple.
Okay.
I really think it's important that we talk about the Grammy Award-winning Best Rock Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals from 1996. Dave, there's 2 things I know about you.
Oh, yeah?
Number 2 is that you fucking hate excessive harmonica.
No.
Blues Traveler Run Around was the best rock song of 1996.
Okay, I hate shitty harmonica. A guy that can get in there and like legitly do harmonica, that like Chicago bluesy sound, I'm all for it. Big fan of Blues Traveler.
Big fan of Blues Traveler.
Big fan of Blues Traveler.
Okay.
I will use Blues Traveler as the example of how to do harmonica.
Properly harmonica.
I will use Bob Dylan as the example of not handing a child a harmonica and letting them record it.
Yeah. Might as well be a recorder.
Seriously, that was the which
1996 rock Run Around.
Run Around. Okay, yep. One of the best music videos is the one where they do the Wizard of Oz thing. Mm-hmm. They're the Wizard of Ozing behind the curtain. There's a band out front, and they're playing behind there. You know, kind of that idea of, once you see who we are, I don't think you're really going to be that into us. But still, I'm a huge fan. Blues Traveler.
I got you wrong. I guess I only know one thing.
Yeah. Well, you were right.
What's the one thing you know about him?
I was hoping he'd ask that.
What is the one thing you know about
you love furry porn.
Yeah, there you go. Saw that coming. You know what's funny is I knew that's where that was going. So that's now in a Be Kind Rewind. So that's sweet. Ongoing joke. Not true. Continue.
Okay, and then I have another song. 1996 was the year of the Macarena. Originally recorded by the Spanish group Los Del Rio in 93, but it was redone by the Bayside Boys in 95. And in 1996, it topped the chart for like 14 straight weeks.
Oh, my God.
Made white people think they could dance for a while.
Yeah, well, because that's the problem for most white people is the legs.
So you don't need the legs.
I don't know what to do with my upper body. That's the problem I have. I'm all about the freaking moving the legs. I just can't figure out what to do with my hands.
But pull it up, Dave. Video of the 1996 Democratic National Convention where they're trying to dance to the Macarena.
Oh, it is the worst. It is. Which one's worse? The 1990, was it 95 for Windows 95?
Oh, no, that's definitely worse.
Steve Ballmer and Bill
That's
Gates.
definitely worse.
I don't know. They're both right up there.
They're pretty
Wait,
bad.
see, at least with the Macarena, they have moves that they're supposed to be mimicking, and they might not be very good at it. With the Windows one, that was just pure dance from their souls.
Some of the people were trying to do the Macarena, but then you had like Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
It looked like one of those chimpanzees with cymbals just clapping to the beat.
That is one of the most cringe-worthy videos that are out there. And I will agree. The Windows 95 one is worse, but man,
The stage was just too damn big.
It's so big. So big.
so big. Get a couple more people. Get some backup dancers.
Yeah, they had room for like 5 separate full choirs on that stage for like 7 dudes.
Oh, that's fantastic. I've got one. Do you guys got anything else?
I'm done with music.
Okay. The one that I have for music, I thought this was pretty fascinating. So the album All Eyes on Me by Tupac came out, and I remember it's a double album, big double album time.
Mm-hmm.
You were doing all these double albums at this time for some reason. But the story behind my favorite song of that entire album, California Love, I think is pretty fantastic. So Tupac was in prison and was out on bail while his appeal was pending. And he flies back out to California, and when he's out there, they just start kicking out songs left and right. And so the song California Love is actually a Dr. Dre song that was completely done. And then they showed it to Tupac, and he's like, absolutely, this is the one we're going to start with because it's, straight out of jail.
Out on bail, fresh out of jail, California dreaming. Soon as I step on the scene, I'm hearing hoochie screaming.
I just think it's fantastic when you listen to, because there's multiple different versions of this song. And it's interesting once you hear that, because Dr. Dre never once says anything about Tupac, but Tupac says things about Dre. And it's just really interesting that the song is completely done. They drop Tupac into there. And then the album, or the music video actually comes out on December 3rd of 1995. So the album didn't come out till 96. The music video, which, do you guys remember that music video at all?
Not
It's the Mad Max one where they're they're out in the desert. So the concept for that was actually created by Jada Pinkett.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
Of the slap fame.
Wow.
Of the slap fame.
Pre-alopecia, Jada Pinkett.
Oh, she had hair. She had hair then?
I don't know the picture I saw. She had a beanie on or something. So potentially not.
No, actually, Jada Pinkett came up with this concept.
But yes, she came up with the concept for the video. Dr. Dre already had the song. Tupac gets out of prison. They, have him go into the studio and record a verse on there, and it becomes a massive hit. The version,
one of the best rap songs of all time.
I absolutely agree to that.
It's an absolute banger. Anytime that song comes on,
Yeah.
there's not a chance you're not getting down.
Yeah, and the one of the samples is actually Joe Cocker is one of the samples for the actual, like the recognizable sample you would recognize from that song. Yeah, really cool story, I thought. I thought that was a cool little way of bringing that together. All right, so let's move on from music. What do we got next? Do we want to do television, or what do you guys got? You know what? Let's do the Olympics. Should we do the Olympics?
Okay.
Let's go right into the Olympics.
1996 Olympics.
Yes.
Makes me think of the Centennial Park bombing.
Gonna have a bad time.
It's bombs again.
Oh, God.
And then CNN decided to try something that hadn't been done before and invented fake news.
Yes. Yes.
They blamed the security guard hero, Richard Jewell, of being the bomber.
So are they the ones that broke the story to begin with? Are they?
It was a local newspaper.
Okay.
But they invented fake news. Turns out it wasn't Richard Jewell. He was a hero.
Yep.
It was a noted survivalist named Eric Rudolph.
Surprised you didn't know that.
The FBI didn't figure out it was Eric Rudolph for 2 years. In March of 98, they put him on the top 10 list. Like, this guy did the bombing. Let's get him. He went and lived in the mountains for 5 years.
So actual survivalists.
Actual survivalist. Ate salamanders for 5 years. And then was
Just
busted.
nothing. Just
He was busted.
exclusively salamanders.
No, he raided people's gardens and stuff. He was caught dumpster diving behind like a grocery store in 2003.
He is so survivalist. No, he's a stray cat.
Fucking raccoon. A little survivalist over there. Look at them. They're so cute with their little bandit eyes.
Hey, man, he hid in the mountains for 5 years from the FBI. It's pretty good.
It sounds like he went into the mountains a couple times, but the rest of the time he just was homeless on the street.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, all right. Well, the funny thing about that story is I didn't even remember that Jewel didn't do it until they came out with the documentaries in the movie just recently. Like, I didn't even remember that was the case. That's how effective
Fake news CNN
fake news fake news is. That is what happened. In my mind, I completely whitewashed the idea that guy was completely innocent and was actually started off as a hero. And then somebody's like, well, wait a minute. This guy's fat and looks lazy.
He wants to be a hero.
Yeah. How dare we allow this man to actually be a hero? Yeah, so messed up. Yeah. And also, bombings. No.
Way out of line.
Way out of line. Way out of line. We have taken a stance here at the iKnowBadeaux podcast. Anti-bombs. Which is weird. But it happens.
Why is that weird?
Because I was a stand-up comedian for a while, and there was a lot of bombing.
Okay.
Carpet.
Now I get it.
A lot of bombing. You got anything else from the Olympics?
You know, I was a perfect age for the Olympics. We were like 13 years old, and that summer it was Michael Johnson in the Olympics.
Yep. In Atlanta.
In Atlanta. Golden sneakers.
Yep.
You know, set the world record for the 200 and the 400 in the same Olympics. Only guy ever to win both of those gold medals in the same Olympics, let alone set the world record. So tip of the cap to Michael Johnson.
Yeah, it was good. I don't remember a lot from those Olympics other than the bombing, which is weird because you would assume in Atlanta, you know, from the U.S., you would remember more about it. I was 13, so gymnastics was my favorite summer sport for the Olympics.
Was that when that was the team that won the gold with Carrie Strug and stuff?
I believe so.
We should have prepared a bit for that. Sorry, Carrie.
I believe so. All right. Anything else in sports or anything? I mean, we got to bring it up, and we won't need to talk much about it. But 1996 is the start of the Chicago Bulls. I think every year we keep saying we'll talk more about the Bulls later on. We'll talk more about the Bulls later on. But we've talked about my love of Dennis Rodman for a long time. Huge Dennis Rodman fan from when he was on the Pistons. Then he went to the Spurs, and my brother's favorite player was David Robinson. So then I became a big fan because it's like the big brother and then the little brother that's kind of a little shit. So I really enjoyed that. And then I was like, holy crap, he's going to play with Michael Jordan. And then they were just unstoppable. So
I to psych my son up for hockey tryouts a couple weeks ago. He's a goaltender. I'm like, you just got to keep an eye on the puck, watch the angle it's coming at, and just be ready, be in position. So I showed him the clip of Dennis Rodman from The Last Dance explaining how he gets rebounds. He's like, psst, ding, over.
it's going to come in this, and then
over here, click and go that way.
Well, I saw a video once where somebody was talking about watching Rodman. One of the players on the Bulls was like watching Rodman during warm-ups, and he was just like standing there.
Yep.
Watching people shoot.
It's science.
And he was literally counting
the rotations,
the revolutions of the balls, so he knew who was shooting, how fast the ball spun. So if it hit where was it going to go? So he was just like breaking down rebounding to a fucking science. Super cool.
And that's not like that kind of worked. Like, no, that was
best rebounder of all time.
18 rebounds a game.
And probably you'll never have somebody else do that again. Not with the way the game is played now. So a huge fan of Rodman and a huge fan of the Bulls in 1996.
But I don't think we need to get into it that much more. If you're interested in the 96 Bulls, go watch The Last Dance.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll continue to talk. I think we should pull up some specific stories from the Bulls because there's some really good stuff, like when Rodman got the okay to just fly to Las Vegas. I think that was in 98. To just fly to Las Vegas for the night.
Yeah, that was the last go round. And it was
Dennis needs a break.
Dennis needs a break. You can go hang out with Carmen Electra for one night. He's gone for like a week.
I had to go get him. Oh man, that's fantastic. All right, anything else from sports? Okay, let's go on to TV. What do you got for TV? Anything over there? I've got one big one.
I don't.
Okay. So I'm going to throw out the one that I've got, which is the Dana Carvey Show.
Oh.
Do you guys remember the Dana Carvey Show?
Didn't they just do like a documentary about it like last year or 2 years ago?
Actually, it's been since like, I think 2018.
Oh,
so it's been like 5 years already since this happened. But Too Funny to Fail is the documentary on Hulu. And I'm so glad that they did that because the Dana Carvey Show was a show that I, as a kid, was so flippin' hyped for and then loved, and then it went away, and then nobody remembered it existed. And I constantly would still do the Saturday Night Live thing where I would mention bits from that, and people are like, I have no idea what you're even talking about. For me, it was like a groundbreaking little thing that happened. for those of you that don't know, Dana Carvey, SNL, was Garth from Wayne's World, was
The church lady.
The church lady, did all the, he was really known for his impressions.
Yeah, he was George Bush Sr. Yeah.
Yeah, which is my least favorite thing about SNL because it doesn't hold up. It doesn't.
It's a time and place thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But he just had tons of characters, and then the height of his career, he says, "Okay, we're going to go on to Hollywood. We're going to go on to do things." He gets a bidding war essentially for his variety show,
A prime time variety show.
prime time. Well, so he wanted to go to HBO because he thought we're going to be a little bit raunchy because the people that he brought on were Robert Schmeigel, who is Triumph the Insult Dog.
Yep.
Louis C.K., who at this point was unknown young guy, but had worked for Conan O'Brien and stuff.
Charlie
Kaufman, which is crazy to
Really?
me. Yeah.
Charlie.
Kaufman, I guess, was the quiet writer down on the end of the hall that just everyone didn't know.
Don't go in there.
Yeah, don't really know, but would just come out with funny stuff and then ended up writing one of my all-time favorite movies, which is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, top 3 movie in my eyes. But then the cast that they got was incredible as well. And I'll only just go to the top 2. Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert both started on
The waiters were disgusted by food.
Yes. Oh my God. There's so many funny bits from the show. But so what happened with Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert was they were both trying to get on SNL and stuff, both at Second City in Chicago. Stephen Colbert was Steve Carell's understudy. So when Robert Schmeigel went to go watch Steve Carell was gone for the day, got his day off or whatever. And Stephen Colbert was the one that came on and performed. And then he's like, okay, we got to get that guy as well. So that's how the two of them ended up both on the show. But the show is just, I will say this. I went back and watched it again. It's perfect for 13-year-old Dave Badeaux.
Oh,
perfect.
So.
I don't know if it's perfect for 2023 television viewing experience.
I haven't rewatched it.
Okay.
I did watch that documentary that came out a couple years ago, but I remember being 13, being excited about the show, and they had the one bit, I don't know if it was opening or closing bit, but they had the ingredients to like Mellow Yellow or Mountain Dew dancing on the stage.
Yes.
And Yellow 5 was a Yellow 5. Like, this is perfect. This is peak humor.
So we'll get to that part. So they decided that they wanted it to be a variety show, and because these old variety shows used to be sponsored, back in the 50s and stuff. So Dana's like, we should have a sponsor. So the first one was Taco Bell. Okay. So it's the Taco Bell Dana Carvey Show.
But that was a real sponsor.
That was a real sponsor.
Yes.
Well, Mountain Dew was a real sponsor as well.
Oh, okay.
And we'll get to how we got to Mountain Dew. So the very first episode of the Dana Carvey Show, they decided that their first skit
Bill Clinton
would be Bill Clinton, and he has locked Hillary Clinton in a room, and she's going crazy. And so now he's going to show the world that he can be a nurturing president. And they have made a series of prosthetic teats, and Bill Clinton proceeds to breastfeed babies, puppies, kitties, and he's actually leaking. He's leaking milk. So this show, prime time, right after Home Improvement. Home Improvement's the lead-in. This show comes on next. The very first thing that they have on is Bill Clinton leaking milk and puppies licking it. 6 million people shut it off during the first skit. 6 million people. They paid extra money to actually get the minute-to-minute Nielsen ratings so they would know exactly how people were reacting to things. 6 million people did not make it out of the first skit.
Nobody had tried that before.
And they never recovered. So back to the advertisers. Taco Bell pulls out. Taco Bell is like, you know what? We're not going to be a part of this. Mountain Dew comes on board.
They're extreme. They can handle it.
And what do? They run a skit that the entire skit is, what does this look like?
What does that look like to you?
Delicious mountain freshness?
No, seriously. What does that look like?
Piss.
What does this look like? And that's the entire sketch. Mountain Dew pulls out. Now, granted, you say they pull out, but at the same time, if there's a trend in these different sponsors, they're all Pepsi related, because I believe Pepsi owns Taco Bell as well. But then it was Taco Bell. Then it was Mug Root Beer. Then it was
wasn't it Diet?
Then it was Diet
Mug Root Beer.
Mug Root Beer. And then finally, as the show is clearly failing, they can't get a sponsor. So they went to a local Chinese restaurant that they got their Chinese from. So it's the Szechuan Gardens Dana Carvey Show, a local Manhattan Chinese restaurant becomes the sponsor of a prime time television.
You have $100.
Yep, yeah. So 8 episodes were filmed. Only 7 made it to air because ABC decided to pull the plug on the last one. And so the last one, there's no sponsor for. And yeah, I mean, it's. But I will say this: like at the time, I was so primed and ready for this show, and then I loved it. There is some. You would love it too, Scott, because there's some really stupid fucking humor in that show. But it was not for the crowd that was coming from Home Improvement. Yes, to very, very quickly. Hey, probably not for you.
You know,
yeah, but you're probably watching it with your kids.
Yes. Well, it's ABC's fault, but it's also you got to remember too. Schmeigel and Louis C.K. were giving them the middle finger.
Right, they gave them the opportunity to see 6 million.
Yes,
to put something in front of 6 million kids who watch Home Improvement.
Yeah, and they said we're going to draw a line in the sand. Either you're with us or against us. And it turns out they were against you because you just wrong audience, right? But I guess, but towards the end, people had kind of started to come back around, but it was too late. You had already lost the audience they were going to have. So that's my big one from 1996. The one thing I will say is that in one of the episodes, there is a shot of 1996 Ellen Show. Member of 1996 Ellen Show is one Jeremy Piven. And so we promised that we were going to have the Jeremy Piven hair scale. And so this is Jeremy Piven, circa 1996 hair scale.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Legit.
It is retreating.
It is. Well, I think it has retreated. I think this is where if you want to talk about drawing a line in the sand, this is where Jeremy Piven draws a line in the sand.
Yeah, right where the headphones go. Over the top of your head.
It's a good third, I'd say. Would you not?
I don't think LeBron James could fit a headband on that.
Absolutely. But yeah, if you guys are out there, give the Dana Carvey Show a shot. I would recommend looking up specific bits because there's some really funny bits. I think watching the show now and looking back on it, it's a little rough. But there's some really good humor. And like I said, this was a thing that in my own existence is like a pivotal part of my life. And then just nobody else remembered it. It was a very bizarre thing. So
it's pretty bizarre to have that be like a pivotal.
Well,
pivotal.
I would say when I mean pivotal, I mean like in terms of like I'm a kid. I've just started to watch SNL over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Really like Dana Carvey. Now they're giving him a show. Starts off, and I think it's hilarious because it's just really bizarre stuff that you're not seeing anywhere else. And then the first experience of like, no, you don't just get to have things. That just doesn't exist, right? That was my first experience with sometimes things that you like are not things that other people like.
Sure.
So pivotal in that lessons learned.
Yeah. That the suits are assholes.
Exactly.
Yeah, the show probably would have done great if it came on at 1 a.m. after Conan.
Yeah.
If something like Conan led into it, that audience would be prepared.
That's exactly correct.
But coming from Home Improvement, there's no chance. No chance.
The best part of Too Funny to Fail is they run a promo that was for a very special episode of Home Improvement.
Yes.
And it is...
Isn't it like one of the kids gets AIDS or something?
They think he has cancer, I think is it. And so they were hugs and very sad. And then followed by the Diet Mug Root Beer Dana Carvey Show, and Steve Carell dies. He's just like, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. No wonder why this didn't work.
ABC Tuesday, a parent's worst fear, losing a child.
I don't want to die, Dad.
And you never know whose family it will happen to. An episode so powerful, it hits home.
We'll beat this thing, no matter what it is, you know? I'm not letting anything happen to you.
A special home improvement followed by the Diet Mug Root Beer Dana Carvey Show.
All right, you guys got anything else? Television or anything?
I mean, I was watching a lot of Nickelodeon back in the day. Hey
yeah.
Arnold started.
Okay.
There was a show called Kablam that was almost like a skit show type thing, where it was just like toys.
Okay.
Did you ever have any idea that existed?
You'd have to show me like the intro or a bit from it, because I don't. Just you saying Kablam, I don't remember, but then I'm sure I would remember something from.
They had one of the skits they would do was Prometheus and Bob, where it was like claymation. There was an alien who came down onto Earth and was like trying to teach this caveman guy how to do stuff, and it just always went horribly awry.
Oh, that sounds good.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff.
I loved Nickelodeon at that point.
Or the action team, I think is what they were called, and this was like actual like toys that they did like stop motion.
I do remember that.
One of the toys was just like a He-Man guy that was just always naked. That was like his superpower, was being naked.
Doesn't really fit into looking back on things.
That's Louis C.K.'s superpower too.
I'm not saying you have to look at it, but if you want to look at it, you can look at it.
Fucking thing sucks.
And actually, I saw Keenan and Kel as well.
Yeah,
yeah. Which, I mean, Good Burger. Come on, obviously, Good Burger was. Well, they had to have worked at Good Burger to begin with, right? I didn't go back and look.
I don't know,
because they were always in a
they were in
convenience
All That
store. Well, they were in All That, but then they had the show Keenan and Kel.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure
and I don't know if Good Burger was from
chronology.
that. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Kel's in a show my kids watch now. Now he's an adult on Nickelodeon shows.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
They really keep trying. They really
they like his effort.
Yeah, really putting in the work there. Do you got any other ones, or should we move on to the last category?
What is the last category?
The last category is toys. Toys and or video games.
Okay.
So let's go with toys. Gabe, do you got a toy from 1996?
I got the toy of the year.
The toy of the year.
I think this was the first time in my memory, and maybe just because I was young then, that there was a toy on the shelves that adult humans would run into a store and fight each other over.
Well, Cabbage Patch Dolls, I would say, was maybe the first one.
Yeah. Okay, so Tickle Me Elmo was the second. But I just remember it was insane back in the day. Like in Christmas time, people barging through the doors of Walmart and throwing punches to get this stupid Tickle Me Elmo. I think they were investing in that too. It was an investment grade product.
I think all that stuff now, looking back, feels manufactured to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could pay people to go rush into multiple stores at the same time.
Yeah.
It would cost you nothing in the grand scheme of things. Because I was reading that the toy came out earlier in the year.
It wasn't like a Thanksgiving Day drop?
No, very little fanfare. And I may be wrong about this, but I believe that's what I read, was that it came out early in the year. I've been
We're right. We are right about everything.
I've been proven wrong many, many times. But yeah, it came out earlier in the year and no fanfare. And then all of a sudden it got picked up on a list, or, I'm sure the Today Show or something one
store ran out.
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. People were literally punching each other over a pretty shitty toy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It laughed. It vibrated.
Yeah, it shook a little bit.
Yeah. Didn't it like pound its hand down or something, if I'm remembering? Or maybe that was a later version of it.
No, that was also Louis C.K.
True.
Tickle me, Louis C.K.
Tickle me, Louis.
True story. I was looking up 1996 toys, and I was really impressed that I didn't see anything really stick out in terms of like anything that other than Tickle Me Elmo that was a big deal, right? Typically there's something like board games or something. But the big one for me, and maybe this is why nothing stuck out, is because in 1996 is when the Nintendo 64 came out.
Nintendo Ultra 64.
You talk about people beating down doors and fighting each other. The Nintendo 64 is the first system that I remember there being like a big shortage of. And so my brother worked at Walmart. He was a cart pusher, I believe, at that point. Very young, like 15, 16 years old. And he got the system, but they didn't get enough copies of Mario 64. And there were only 2 games you could get, Mario 64 or Pilot Wings 64.
Pilot Wings, that was the other one. I was going to say Wave Race.
Yeah, no, Pilot Wings.
That was a good one.
Pilot Wings is not a bad game, but when you get a Nintendo 64 and you're a kid and you don't have a ton of money, you just wait to get Mario. They did not have enough copies of Mario 64. So he brought home a system that we could do nothing with.
Just look at.
Yep.
And we looked at
a system with no game. How long?
Oh, God, had to
at
have been
least
months.
2 weeks.
At least 2 weeks, probably a month. I mean, in my eyes, it was 2 months, you know? I stared at that thing. I turned it on. I turned it off.
Did the screen flicker?
You'd turn it on and the screen would turn a different color. You'd turn it off. And I wonder what this is. This is fantastic. Yeah, but it was at least, you're right. It was at least 2 weeks. I would say upwards of a month that we did not have a game.
That is awesome.
Yep,
Yeah.
we had a Nintendo 64,
Yeah.
but we could not play it because we did not have a game.
Could not play the thing that we were waiting. Oh, we were waiting for that thing. But fantastic little system. Long story of that, Nintendo grouped together with Silicon Graphics, which was making high-end machines that were being done to do graphics for Hollywood. And the machine is actually extremely powerful. The one caveat that they made with it is that it runs in a lower resolution. So people always complain about the games being blurry. That's because it's pushing a lot of power and it's pushing a lot of polygons, but in order to make sure that it could still compute and not be $1 million, they had a lower resolution on the graphics on there. So it is slightly blurry, but back then it didn't matter because you run a CRTV anyways.
Yeah, Lara Croft was still hot.
That's PlayStation.
That's PlayStation.
Oh, damn it.
Scott, what are your feelings on the Nintendo 64?
I mean, some of the best games of all time.
Yeah.
Mario 64.
Yes.
Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time.
Wave Race, you said it.
Wave Race, of course.
I spent so much
GoldenEye.
time. GoldenEye, yeah. I spent so much time just because if you beat Wave Race and did all this stuff, then you could get a dolphin to ride. I spent so much time just riding a dolphin, not doing anything. Childhood is great.
Yeah.
Childhood is fantastic.
Yeah, you don't even do the race. I'm just going to go over here into these waves and do backflips.
Yeah. Also introduced the Rumble Pack with Star Fox 64. So before that, there was no
I mean, that's
feedback.
a couple of years down the line.
It
from
is.
Then.
It is, but the Nintendo 64 was the purveyor of motion or of tactile feedback.
Yeah, and joystick controls.
Yeah, the thumbstick did not exist. And actually, have you felt an old school PlayStation controller before they'd had the DualShock? Oh, it's unacceptable.
It's tiny?
Oh,
it's tiny. It's super light.
It's light, and it's got the thumb pad is weird. Like it's 4 triangles.
So it's like a Nintendo Switch.
It's not good. It's not good. I would argue that the DualShock is not good either. So fight me. Gabe, any thoughts on Nintendo 64?
Absolutely loved the system. Played a lot of GoldenEye after that came out. We'll go over to Matt Fargo's house after school, walk over there, and play GoldenEye for a few hours.
What's your stance on screen peeking?
Do not do it.
So screen peeking meaning that we used to have the TV divided into 4 quadrants so you could look at.
I imagine Scott did a lot of peeking.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Professional.
It's right there.
Professional.
I have to use the game as it's presented to me.
I'm trying to drop
it's not my fault.
I'm trying to drop some remote minds here.
And I see it. I'm not going over there. You better be more sneaky. That's probably why I'm so sneaky to this day.
There were people taping cardboard to their TV in a cross pattern so that people couldn't peek at the various different places that people were playing.
Look, it's not my fault. I can compute 4 different people doing 4 different things at one time while I'm doing,
I could barely compute myself doing it. I was very good with remote mines because you'd set the mine down, then you'd go hide and giggle.
Yep.
And wait.
As a button masher, that's my best move is the remote mine and wait.
Yeah. All right. Well, that I think brings us to the end of the first half of 1996. Of course, we've been dividing these in 2 and doing all the stuff and then the movies. So,
but we're only going to talk Nintendo 64.
What else do you want to talk?
I mean, it's the end of the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And they only released the greatest game of all time,
which is
Super Mario RPG.
Okay, all right. We'll talk about it.
I've never played it.
Remake coming out in just a couple weeks, I think, or a couple months.
Is that? Oh, yeah. I'm definitely getting that.
Yeah, it might be next spring. So
that'll be the first game that I've bought in I don't know how long. The last game I played was the Metroid Dread.
Sure,
you got me for Christmas a couple years ago. I haven't played a game since then. We'll definitely be playing this.
Yeah, Mario RPG is a great game, but super nerdy. Super nerdy. I don't know.
It's a Mario game. It's Mario Final Fantasy.
It's Mario Final Fantasy, literally made by the people that made Mario and the people that made Final Fantasy.
Absolutely fantastic game.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny you on that. However, the N64 came out, bro. Come on.
Yeah, you know what else came out?
What?
Pokemon.
Oh yeah,
1996. Yeah. Pokemon Red, Blue, and/or Yellow.
We should do a whole episode just talking about the overlap of technology in this time frame, because it's crazy how a video game on a regular Game Boy in black and white can be as huge of a seller while other things are happening, not just the Nintendo 64, but you go into an arcade and you see what those games look like versus what the games on a Game Boy look like. It's crazy that the amount of technology, plus people were still buying Tiger handhelds at that point as well.
Nothing wrong with that.
For $20, think about Christmas, what you get for your kids. I would have, if Tiger handhelds were a thing right now, if that's what my kid was okay with, he would have 1,000 of those. Because for $20, you're yep, this goes in the stocking, this birthday present, every single time for $20, you'd be getting Tiger handhelds. All right, so that's the end of 1996, except for part 2, which we will be back with next week. Shoot us out your favorite movies. Let us know what movies you remember from 1996, good or bad. I actually love the bad movies probably more than the good ones. So shoot those out, and you still got a little bit of time that we could potentially watch something. So if you've got something that you want us to review, Scott will definitely watch movies.
Yes, please. Somebody give me a shitty movie to watch. The only one that I have seen is a Leprechaun 4 in space. And I'm definitely going to get down on that unless somebody saves me from myself.
How do you get a rainbow in space?
It's just refracted light, Dave.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in 1 week with, it sounds like Leprechaun in space.
Don't worry, I'll have 40 minutes on that.
I should probably watch it this time.
And until then, we're done. I wish there were more toys in 1996.
Yeah, there was not. I was going through a list. The fourth one on the list that I pulled up was a fucking stroller.
Yeah.
A toy stroller. That's the hot ticket that year.
Yeah. One of the reasons we started doing this was because I thought toys would be a really cool thing to talk about. And now, granted, we're getting to older ages in how old we were, but at the same time, there wasn't anything that even stuck out we weren't even into the Tachagamis or anything like Tachagamis? Tamagotchis. Oof, Tachagamis?
That's about as dyslexic as you get.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. But
sometimes I like to say, insteed of gymnastics, I say that my daughter's going to nimjastics, and I think about you every time. And I actually almost got Angie to say it the one day. Oh God, there was one day, there was a kid that was working for me, and he did something, and I said, "Oh, congratulations." And he said, "What?" I said, "Congratulations." And he goes, what? I said, congratulations. And he goes, oh, okay.
You're a terrible
just got-
stuntman.
For a
Does
second.
my boss think that's a word?
For just a second, I had him convinced that congratulations was how you said congratulations. I was very proud of myself. I cheered. I said, yes! And I clapped.
You congratulated yourself?
I congratulated
Hello and
myself.
congratulations.
The other day I had to go as the mayor to a candlelight domestic violence vigil.
Yeah, and we mentioned that it should be better lit.
It should be.
Needs better lighting.
Should you have better lighting? But they asked me to read a proclamation from the governor, Tim Walz, about domestic violence and domestic violence.
Or Tim
month.
Waltz, as some people call him.
Is it Waltz?
Yeah.
Isn't it Walz?
It's Walls.
Okay. Anyways.
Sorry.
So they hand me this sheet of paper, and it's all the words.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the words. And it is in 0.6 font. Like, I can hardly see this
Your
thing.
old endless Dexic.
And I look at them and I go, I just want you to know that I'm dyslexic. This is a lot of words. And she's like, oh, it'll be okay, blah, blah, blah. And I go, well, my defense mechanism is to just make fun of it.
Is to joke.
Is to joke. And she just looks at me and goes, please don't do that. And I got through it just fine.
Yeah, when I get uncomfortable, I'm going to start spitting jokes.
The first thing that's going to happen.
Based on the last sentence I read.
Yep. And it is not a good idea to hand me this many words. There's a reason why my speeches are not written down.
Yeah, somebody should probably hit me.
Yeah. He'd say
it. That's exactly something he'd say.
Oh, that's a total Michael Scott.